Welcome to the Light Tube Sports Network and this 2021 championship season recap. For the next hour or so, Ken and I are going to relive Tullahoma's magical 15-0 season and run to the state championship. We've got video of every scoring play. We're going to talk about each game. We'll talk a little bit about preseason. We'll talk a little bit about the postseason. But first, Ken, I think we need to reflect on just where we were. We had the greatest vantage point for this football game. It didn't start out that way. We got put up on the roof of the press box, which we were a little skittish about to start with, but man, it turned out to be the best seat in the house because we could see the Tullahoma crowd, we could hear them, we could get their feedback because they were across the field. I felt like our vantage point just couldn't have been better. It
was euphoric. As you said, as both teams come in for the state championship, it's David versus Goliath, and you see the colors, the pageantry, and, even the Tennessee Vol public announcer came in to do the public announcing, and you could hear him piped in. We were out on the rooftop. We had a perfect shot at the 4th and goal that Tullahoma went for on the goal line and was just inches short, right down there, and had a beautiful vantage point of that. It was a magical season, as you said, Scott, and the ending was phenomenal.
Ken, one of the most fascinating things about the season that I found was that we learned after the season, after Coach Olive's resignation, that he had told Dr. Jason Quick, the principal at Tullahoma High School, and Dr. Stevens, the superintendent, after the 2020 season, that 2021 would be his last season. Now, nobody knew that. And credit goes to Dr. Quick and Dr. Stevens for keeping that secret. But think of how much more pressure that put on John Olive this year, especially the later it got, knowing that it was his last year. I just find that fascinating. I thought he handled that spectacularly.
Well, the lid was kept on it. It was, I was surprised, when I did hear that. But, think about his legacy and think about how he capped it. And as you said, the pressure. He's coached 29% of the years, 29 years out of 100. So 29% of the history of Tullahoma football. That was amazing, and what a season it was.
And that reminds me that I called 30 years of the 100 years. That's 30%. I think that's probably more than twice as much maybe as any other broadcaster
That's right.
has called. So I've lived the dream. But going into the season, Ken, last year coming off that 12-1 year, that loss to Nolensville, I think a lot of people felt like Tullahoma should have won that game, that Tullahoma had the better team. Just one mistake basically cost us that game. But coming into the 2021 season, we both felt like because Tullahoma had elected to stay in 4A and play in that region, that maybe wasn't the best decision because of the lingering pearl cone monster that was out there, the Elizabethton, Greenville monsters. Some thought that maybe Tullahoma should play up in 5A where they could face more common opponents. We totally changed our schedule for the 2021 season, playing opponents that Tullahoma never played before. And that created a lot of question. We didn't really know what we were going into. We sort of knew what Shelbyville and Coffee County had, but all the other games, Ken, we had no scouting report on these teams. We hadn't Marshall County, but for the most part, we hadn't seen these teams in years, if at all.
And that's true, Scott. And, both of us were at the fan feast way back in August the 6th against Warren County and got a glimpse of this team early. And we knew that, with 22 seniors returning, this could be a really special team, certainly strong in the trenches. Offensively, they had to replace the Swiss Army knife, Jacoby Thomas. Where would that ball distribution go? Who would get those touches on offense? And defensively, as it ended up, Coach Olive said that was his biggest surprise. You lose a couple 4, 7 timed 40-yard defensive ends in Tyreek Nard and Seth Cullum. You lose DJ Dillahay, who opted to go 100% baseball before the season, which was a big safety for the Wildcats
Jalen
last year.
Newsome for Tullahoma graduated after 2020. That was a big loss on that defensive line.
Certainly. So you looked at the losses and both offensively and defensively and said, how's Tullahoma going to cope? but they had 22 seniors. They had that bitter 15-14 defeat in the quarterfinals to Nolensville, a team that they handled easily in the regular season. That served as fuel. That served as the amplifier, the accelerator, so to speak, for the off-season workouts and the challenge of coming back and getting even further in 2021 and perhaps winning a state title.
So Tullahoma had an interesting schedule in that it featured 4 home games and 6 away games. The first 2 games against non-region opponents and the other 8 region opponents. So Tullahoma had to drop Franklin County for the 2021 season. They did play them in the preseason contest, but opened the season against Shelbyville on the road in Shelbyville. And the Golden Eagles always provide Tullahoma with stiff competition. It's always a good barometer to gauge how Tullahoma is going to be. And we saw right off the bat that explosive passing game with that toss to Joe Duncan there, Ken. We talked about Ryan Scott a lot in the preseason and his decision making and his ability to not throw the bad pass and to hit the open man. And from that first touchdown against Shelbyville there in the second quarter, you saw that, Ryan Scott and Joe Duncan were on the money from the start.
Oh, no doubt about it. Ryan Scott, comes back 12-1 as a starter, firmly entrenched, 12-1 junior season, comes into his senior season, and we saw him mature before our very eyes, and we talked about it. His poise, his accuracy improved, his ball fakes in the running game on the read options, his pump fakes in the passing game, and his downfield deep ball accuracy. We saw that with that first touchdown of the season to Joe Duncan. Just a beautiful spiral right on target. This is a theme you'll see over and over again. The one thing he needed to improve on that he did, he turned the ball over 3 times in this game at Shelbyville in his first start of his senior season. But I tell you what, he protected that football and distributed it to the playmakers in the next 14 games.
Yeah, he did. And the Golden Eagles tied Tullahoma up here, as you see, with a couple of minutes left to go in the first half. It didn't start out as blowout city from the start. Tullahoma had its share of blowouts in 2020 and 2021, but not against Shelbyville. But again, Ken, the thing with playing Shelbyville the first game of the year that I like, and I hope we continue to do it, and Shelbyville's a 6A school now, so we will never be in the same region with Shelbyville again. It's just such a good barometer to see where the Wildcats are opening things up, because Shelbyville always has outstanding athletes. You see the block point after right there. The defense just man, they just shine throughout the year. But here's an example of just a huge hole opening up for Keyshawn Cummings. Let's just go back and take a look at this blocking again for Keyshawn as this play develops.
Yeah, and this was
look at that. Look at number 70 clear his guy out. Look at 75 put his guy on the ground. They just took the Shelbyville defense completely out of that play. And Keyshawn, to his credit, once he hits the hole, man, he has a very nice acceleration to the end zone.
Yeah, and Coach Oliver said this was his strongest team coming in. They broke many weightlifting records in the offseason and during the season. And you saw the strength of this team was the trenches, especially offensive line, the pancake posse. You mentioned 75, there Logan Crouch, number 70, Ian Poe, ripping holes through the interior of that Golden Eagle defense, and they had some big boys up on that defensive line, as they always do.
And for the rest of that offensive line, it was J.T. Taylor, it was Zach Swiger, it was Caden Bradford, Cam Robinson came in and played a lot of offensive line during the course of the season. Did a great job filling in for JT in the state championship game at center. Such a critical position. I saw Cam a couple of weeks ago and just told him how impressed I was with how he filled in for JT Taylor. So Tullahoma leads here 14-6. Shelbyville toward the end of the third quarter tied it up. So once again, Kim, we're halfway through with the opening game, and we've got no indication yet that this is a state championship caliber team.
True, but what we have seen is one of the goals of this offense was to strike balance the first touchdown of the season was that long pass from Ryan Scott to Joe Duncan, and then you see the diesel, Keyshawn Cummings, rip that long touchdown run. So that's what I think made Tullahoma so tough to defend, was the balance they were able to create offensively.
A really big challenge defensively early came right here as the Golden Eagles attempted a 2-point conversion to try to tie this game up at halftime. Cade Cunningham, it turned out Cade Cunningham was really the only weapon that Shelbyville had, Ken, but he really kept them in it at least for a half.
Yeah, and he did. The difference in the game right now was a block PAT, Tullahoma special teams. We would be amiss, not to mention them, Justice Chadwick, the punting game, the return game, all year long. We won special teams battles each week.
Once again, notice where 75 and 70 on the left side of the line, notice where they take their man. Look at where they are, as they say, trying to freeze it. Freeze it right here. Yeah. So 70 and 75 just totally clear their men out. And once again, there's Keyshawn busting up the middle for a 40-yard or so touchdown run. Gives Tullahoma a lead. The Wildcats, they didn't trail but twice during the season.
Yeah, that's amazing.
They trailed against Montgomery Central for about 2 minutes. And they trailed against Elizabethton in the second overtime for about 2 minutes.
Yeah. Now, in round 4 of the playoffs, they did face a 16-7 deficit
they trailed
against Haywood County
16-7 against Haywood
before closing that game out on a 37-3 run. So Tullahoma explosive in the second half of games this year.
Once again, for the third time of the opening game. Now look at the stunt at 56 or 66 Taylor. He's at center. Watch what he does on this run by Keyshawn Cummings. 66, right in the middle of the line, pulls out and gets a block. Key
Excellent.
Block to get Keyshawn to the sidelines. And everybody else is just burying their guys. There's Big Cam 71 in there, but just great, I guess, zone blocking, I don't know. But once again, Keyshawn right up the middle, untouched. Once he gets through the line of scrimmage, he really learned where that end zone was.
And that just shows, everybody doing their job. Everybody has an assignment to do, and Tullahoma was tactical this year. Each player played their role on this team.
And you mentioned, and we'll feature him right here, long snapper Reagan Tomlin, holder Wade Collins, and of course Justice Chadwick, who went on to win Mr. Football kicker in the state of Tennessee. He's the kicker of the year in the state of Tennessee. But for the most part, those guys did their job, PAT after PAT, just like that right there.
Oh, they did, and I'm glad we're showing these on the highlights because those guys need to be recognized.
So Tullahoma beats Shelbyville 28-14, and up next we go to Manchester to Coffee County. And Ken, for the first time, we talked about Chris Usselton a lot on the defensive end in that Shelbyville game, and Coach Olive talked about him in the preseason a little bit, but we really didn't get a chance to see Chris Usselton in the offense until now. But once again, watch the ends, and I believe that's Joe Duncan and Jacob Dixon, the ends on this side. Watch the blocking as Chris Usselton takes this shuffle pass. Look at the block in there, and then he's got a man in front of him. Jackson Sheffield gets the final block. What a treat it was for Chris Usselton to emerge as such a playmaker offensively.
Oh, yeah, and he was made plays defensively at cornerback. He helped us in the return game, so he alleviated the loss of Jacoby Thomas the year before, no doubt about it. So he made an impact this year, and boy, we're really going to see that as he made the biggest play in the history of Tullahoma football, the last play of the season in 100 years.
The pick. We are in Manchester here for the second game of the year, and Coffee County's really done a nice job of improving their facility. They've got the new scoreboard now. I feel like that's a program now that they have realigned the districts, the regions, and Coffee County no longer has to go up against those Murfreesboro schools all the time. I look for continued improvement there. Watch this pump fake by Ryan Scott. This is what we're talking about with maturity here. He gets good blocking, good protection, pump fakes, the little out screen, and then Joe Duncan once again is just wide open down the field, and Ryan connects with Joe. But that little pump fake, Ken, we see that over and over all season. Scott uses that more and more to draw defenders toward that wide receiver bubble screen, opening up the long pass.
Yeah, and it did open it up because Tullahoma featured that they threw that bubble screen 6 times a game to Dixon. And, you know, when you try to jump that route, then they send the receiver running open down the sidelines, and it paid off right there. And the thing I remember about this Coffee County game, we were defending a big quarterback, Connor Shimwell, in this game. Alante Taylor there. You know, the Coffee Pot game. This is one of the biggest games of the year for Tullahoma annually. And Tullahoma just started defense pounding Shimwell and pulling away in this game.
Yeah, Tullahoma leads 14-0 here. Scores again right at the end of the second quarter as Keyshawn just runs over somebody and dances into the end zone. Tullahoma takes a 21-0 lead at the half. And, you know, some of these games that we'll overview, Tullahoma just completely dominated. But that's when we began to see that this might be a championship team, because we watch scores from across the state every Friday night. And teams that win state championships, when they play inferior opponents, they dominate them. And Tullahoma's never really done. They did it last year, and they did it this year. But that's the difference from a good team to a great team. Is a great team just can't help itself. It dominates teams 45-7 and 55-7 and stuff like that. Can't help themselves. Here's a 46-yard field goal by Justice Chadwick. That really let us know kind of what our range was field goal wise. Tullahoma dominating this game.
And back to that first half, you know, that scoring drive at the end of the first half, that was a trademark for Tullahoma this year, is winning the last 2 minutes of the half and getting that momentum into overtime. And you just saw Chadwick again, you know, that 46-yard field goal in the third quarter. Tullahoma starting to pull away now. Tullahoma
is pulling away. And unfortunately, we weren't able to catch, because of our spot in the press box, weren't able to catch the end of this. But look at the patience of Ryan Scott. And look at Keyshawn Cummings. He just runs out there and says, wow, there's nobody around me. So Scott finds him. More of Ryan's maturity there, Ken, finding your running back. It's not part of the pattern. I don't think that was a called pass to Keyshawn Cummings. We didn't see any other play like that all year long where he'd throw a 40-yard touchdown pass to a running back. So I think Keyshawn just kind of rambled out there and found an open spot, and Ryan found him.
And you know, if you look, you know, at these wide receiver targets that Tullahoma has, you know, they had, you know, Joe Duncan, they had Dixon, they had Usselton, they had Brody Melton. And then you take the big man out of the backfield. Jackson Sheffield caught balls out of the backfield this year. And so these guys were yak monsters. They were yard after the catch monsters. All Ryan had to do was, you know, throw a short pass, and look, you know, you take it to the house right there. Just a little hitch right there, a little slant over the middle, Milton, and he breaks it through the middle of the defense for an easy touchdown rumble right there.
Baby
for Brody
Gronk.
Melton. Baby Gronk.
Watch Baby Gronk. Watch him run to the camera. Right, got to run through the camera. There's Terry there doing the video.
Yeah.
Baby Gronk. We missed Brody for part of the year, but boy, it really made a difference when he came back, and certainly seeing this little slant pass over the middle that gets you into the end zone.
Yeah, sure.
That's just a whole new wrinkle.
Yeah, and we looked at this season in 3 phases. The first 5 games, the second 5 games, the third. Now, we've lost him for the second 5 games and came back for the playoffs, but Brody was a key target for us.
Why did we break the season up into 3 segments?
Well, it worked out perfectly the way, you know, it's a natural break. You have 10 games in the regular season. So what Tullahoma did the first 5 games, you got your 2 border war rivals, you know, in Shelbyville and Coffee County, and then you go to region play. You know, our first region game would be in week 3. The next game we'll look at against Marshall County, and then a homecoming endeavor in game 5 against Pearl Cone, and then all region opponents games 6 through 10. So for me, we'll get to it when we get to the Pearl Cone game, but to me, that's when I knew we really had something special in game 5.
Yeah, so those first 5 games we felt like were highly winnable. for the Wildcats. The second 5 games was where some big challenges came in. And then, of course, the third 5 games are the playoffs. So Coffee County gets a garbage touchdown here. Most of the defense, most of the points allowed by Tullahoma's defense, especially during the regular season, came during garbage time. Other than Marshall County and Pearl Cone, that's when the touchdowns came for the opposition. So we're 20% of the way through the regular season. Tullahoma's beaten Shelbyville and Coffee County. Up next, a huge region game against Marshall County. Remember, preseason predictions, Pearl Cone first, Marshall County second, Tullahoma third in Region 5-4A. We'll be back with more of this state championship season recap right here on the Light Tube Sports Network.
Is lag hurting your gaming? Is a weak signal stalling your social media posts? Are constant updates slowing down your productivity? TUA LightTube has a solution. Enroll in our mesh router service starting at $9.95 a month. With the ability to cover your home with increased signal strength, you can increase productivity and whole home happiness. Start winning today by calling TUA LightTube customer service at 455-4515.
Tullahoma Utilities Authority LightTube Fiber Internet offers true gigabit service to our customers. We pride ourselves on speed, but the backbone of that speed is local tech support, unmatched customer service, and professional service technicians. To sign up, call 455-4515 to gain the reassurance of LightTube reliability.
Did you know that Tullahoma Utilities Authority has a solar farm right here in Tullahoma? For as little as $4 a month, you can support solar energy production and breathe a little easier, knowing you're taking positive action to reduce your carbon footprint. Call 455-4515 today.
Welcome back to the 2021 Tullahoma Wildcat State Championship recap here on the Light Tube Sports Network. Along with Ken Keller, I'm Scott Chastain. We're just sort of recapping Tullahoma's perfect 15-0 season. The Wildcats beat Marshall County 38-7, Ken. Beat Coffee County 38-7. Head to Lewisburg for the first head home for the first home game of the year against what we thought would be one of the toughest opponents of the year, Marshall County. And you see Tullahoma gets off to a great start, scoring immediately. And Ken, Marshall County just wasn't quite what we thought they would be.
Well, they did challenge us with a furious comeback in the fourth quarter of this game. We held it off and ended up winning this game 28-20. But you're right, we blitzed them early, broke out to a big lead, and held on for dear life in this one.
Didn't they try something cute on the kickoff here, and that's why we've got the ball 11 seconds gone in the game, and we've got the ball at their 1-yard line.
I can't remember, but if we had a good kick return right there, it was an onside or what happened.
I think they fumbled the kick.
Yeah, may have fumbled the kick, yeah.
Oh, second quarter. Our producer, Randy Brewer, reminds us this is the second quarter. So Tullahoma's driven all the way down and gets this first touchdown early in the second quarter. Thank you, Randy. Ryan Scott takes it in there for the Wildcats, and Tullahoma quickly on Marshall County 6-0. Didn't really have the crowd, as you can see, that kind of expected for the home opener. One thing we were blessed with throughout the season, for the most part, was great weather. Sometimes these early games are so humid that you can't hardly stand it. And sometimes the late games are so cold that you can't hardly stand it. We didn't really have either one of those.
No, we were blessed with great weather. Actually saw a rainbow on a road game this year as we went into the stadium. But what you're seeing is really the running ability here of Ryan Scott. He turned out to be a true dual threat quarterback. I mean, he could do the damage with his arm, his decision making. We see his poise. We see the pass protection set up.
Let's look at this
in the
block.
passing game. But watch him follow his blocks here. And just be patient and then show his explosiveness as he gets through the initial line of scrimmage here.
Watch Pancake Poe drive his man. Watch 70. Just drives him over.
Yeah.
And Ryan's got a nice gap there, takes it up the middle. I hope Ryan Scott gets an opportunity to play quarterback in college. I think he's got some real potential. He can grow more into his body. He's got good size. I think he's got a chance to be a decent college quarterback.
Yeah, Tullahoma control this game up 2 touchdowns, looking for another. Scott runs another one in there. So in the fourth quarter, Tullahoma comfortable with a 21-0 lead here, 10:38 to go in the contest. But Marshall County's going to end up with 20 points in this football game. So maybe Tullahoma let off the gas a little bit here in this one.
Well, I think so. I think it's natural to do that when you're up late. But, you know, this Tullahoma team's starters, and it was pointed out, that was a great catch by Pierce. Lamarius Pierce, excellent player from Marshall County.
Yeah, Hargrove in position to make that interception.
He was in position.
We didn't see that happen much where the other team came up with the ball in a one-on-one situation against our cornerbacks and DBs this year.
Absolutely. But Tullahoma's starters, you know, they didn't play a lot of third and fourth quarters. And I think against Marshall County here, and then later against Pearl Cone, Tullahoma learned to play 4 quarters. Even though they didn't have to do it but a couple of times during the regular season, they learned it.
Yeah, well, there's Pierce there again over Chris Olsen on that one. Just threw the ball to the back of the end zone. He just made an athletic play. And, you know, Tullahoma faced their challenges of some elite wide receivers this year in multiple games. And I think, you know, facing this guy in Game 3 helped Tullahoma later on facing the Barry M. Browns and some of those guys later on.
Agreed. So Marshall County edges closer to Tullahoma 21-14, but the Wildcats drive down the field. And again, Keyshawn Cummings powers his way into the end zone. Justice Chadwick adds the extra point, and Tullahoma's got the little cushion they need because Marshall County's not quite finished.
Hey, and we gave, you know, Marshall County a lot of credit in this game for not quitting in the fourth quarter and making some explosive plays. You know, speed kills, and we really see that here in the fourth quarter for Marshall County. They've got an elite athlete they just get the ball to and makes one guy miss, and then he's to the house.
Yeah, look at Pierce here. Nobody laid a finger on him. I mean, nobody touched him. So a great play by Pierce. Pulls Marshall County within 28-21 on the extra point, but Tullahoma able to run out the final 2 minutes and get the
28-20 victory.
28-20 win over Marshall County. So that was, I can remember being so relieved that we got that first region game out of the way, that we beat Marshall County, and I think everybody was. And you know, with Creekwood up next, we go to Creekwood High School, which was way out there in the boonies, and really the beginning of the Jacob Dixon show. He had a great season. Watch this little shuffle pass to Dixon. Good blocking by 45, 22, 3 out there. Everybody, 17, everybody blocking their man. And Dixon scores. Jacob Dixon, man, talk about turning into a go-to receiver.
Mr. Consistency. His hands were super glue. You know, anything thrown in his direction, he caught it. And in his ability to make the first guy miss on those bubble screens and make some big plays. You know, he had a kick return touchdown this year, and he was just a very key performer for this Wildcat offense all year. Just a hard-nosed football player that showed improvement and a vital part of this state championship run.
And here's Ryan with a wide receiver bubble screen to Brody Melton, and Baby Grant gets another touchdown there. The Wildcats go up 13-0. Now, I call this the swinging gate. Tullahoma does this on its point after, where they line up, and we've seen them go for it a couple of times because the other team doesn't respect the swinging gate, but usually they shift over into kicking formation. You think that's an advantage that's worth it, or do you think that's not?
I just think that shows a team that's well coached because you got to practice alignment, you got to have the discipline to not, create a pre-snap infraction, and then it does give you a little versatility because I think off that in a later game this year, somehow Brody Melton ended up with the football and we scored on that 2-point conversion on that play out of the swinging gate. I can't remember which game it was, but
terrible memories here.
Just something you have to coach against.
Terrible memories. This is a carbon copy of the play that cost Tullahoma against Nolensville, cost Tullahoma the win, a high snap over the center. I think it's the only time it happened in 2 years, once against Nolensville and here against Creekwood. Fortunately for Tullahoma, it didn't have the impact against Creekwood that it did against Nolensville. Creekwood came in as a team that was just okay. Look at that beautiful strike to Chris Usselton. Or is that, yeah, Chris Usselton. Nobody's going to catch him down the sideline. That play by Ryan Scott was just exceptional to use his protection, find his receiver running down the right side. Great protection. There's nobody within 10 yards of Ryan Scott.
And look at that deep ball accuracy, man. That thing, that ball flies out of his hand. It just halos right in there into the waiting arms of number 11, Chris Elston, who burned his man down the sidelines. What a difference that guy made coming in his first year of high school football. A star in basketball. John Olive and his staff welcomed him to this year's team. He was a big playmaker.
So despite the safety that Creekwood got on the high snap over the punter's head, Tullahoma has a commanding lead here as we move into the third quarter. Jackson Sheffield with his first big scoring highlight of the season.
Yeah.
Boy, what an exceptional number 2. Coach Olive would call them 1A and 1B, but Keyshawn usually got the start. What a great number 2 back Jackson Sheffield proves to be.
Well, we called him Thunder and Lightning. Just two different contrasting running styles. But when you need tough yardage, if you look through this season, look through the highlights, he would be giving the ball on Tullahoma's goal line, back on the 1-yard line, and he was critical in the second quarter against Pearl Cone. But as he was in the state championship, between those two guys, you talk about offensive balance, going into the state championship game, Keyshawn Cummings and Jackson Sheffield, only one carry separated them on the whole season. So, yeah, he did yeoman's job in the running game, too. Those two guys were fantastic, both of them.
And that truly is 1A and 1B as Tullahoma continues to pile it up here against Creekwood. Ryan Scott with the quarterback sneak from about the 3-yard line, but he just gets behind Big Poe and Crouch and barrels into the end zone on the ground. So the route is on here against Creekwood. They had a lot of sophomores. Creekwood's going to be better.
Yeah, young team. And, the one thing you saw Scott carry that ball over with 2 hands, was really ball security. Tullahoma took care of the ball really in the running game. Very few fumbles this season. So that goes back to your practice in the spring and summer workouts. Ball security, ball protection, and discipline, and those guys did a great job protecting the football all the way around.
Creekwood did not have that on this play. Watch number 71. He's that right defensive tackle. He just gets off his block. Oh, there's a football. So
yeah.
Cam Robinson picks it up, takes it 15 yards into the end zone. That began a string of turnovers turned into touchdowns. That when you go back and as Grant Chadwick kicks that point after, when you go back and look at these non-offensive touchdowns Tullahoma had, it's just amazing.
Oh, look at a big sack there. I think that was Caden Bradford, the left defensive end. But, Tullahoma.
No, you remember this play. That's Colton Proctor.
Oh, that's Proctor. Okay.
Proctor just levels the Creekwood quarterback.
Yes.
There's a fumble. Oop. There's the man to pick it up. And another non-offensive touchdown. That's Brody Melton there from his defensive end spot.
And you know, this defense, they were wrecking balls. They played with reckless abandon. They were disruptive. They created turnovers. Tullahoma won the turnover battle in virtually every football game this year, and it was amazing as Tullahoma routes Creekwood here in Game 4, setting up a big homecoming matchup coming up. Who wants Pearl Cone on their homecoming schedule, right, Scott?
Yeah, right. Right. Well, we do. We'll take them. So Pearl Cone, Creekwood scores another garbage touchdown. They're going to go for 2 here and make it. And as Ken said, 49-10, the final over Creekwood. That mercy clock got going. So that's the first game. Now here we are against Pearl Cone. This is the 5th game of the year. Tullahoma's 4-0 and they're ranked 2nd in the state of Tennessee behind Greenville.
Yeah.
And first quarter, about halfway through, Tullahoma drives the ball down the field, gets a nice touchdown here.
The thing I remember about this game, Scott, is we were absolutely shocked. We were stunned as announcers in the first half. We went in this 21-0 at the half, just an explosive first half. The ground game's going with Keyshawn Cummings. The big offensive line really takes over, and we were facing the number 2 athlete in the entire nation, wide receiver, kick returner, safety, Barryon Brown, for these Firebirds who were projected to win Region 5-4A this year. We had this game September 24th circled from the beginning of the season.
There's a nice shot there to Jacob Dixon, a late hit. Ken, how come they don't call a penalty when this happens in the end zone? What? Right there. Why is that not a penalty? If you hit a guy out of bounds like that, it's a penalty.
There were multiple late hits in this game. The emotions were high. A highly competitive football game between 2 elite teams. Both teams, I believe, at this time, perhaps ranked in the top 5 of the state in Class 4A when these two matched up. 2 4-4 undefeated, 4-0 undefeated teams matching up in Game 5 on Tullahoma's homecoming.
Yeah,
night.
Pearl Cone was 3rd in the state. Tullahoma was 2nd. Greenville was 1st. Elizabethton was 4th. Jackson Sheffield, again, really nice hole there to get in the end zone. Watch his offensive line and the blocking there as Ethan Anderson really clears out from his fullback spot. Watch 45. He's lined up as an H-back on the left side. Watch him come out and lead Jackson Sheffield into the end zone there.
And
right
Jackson's
there.
running style, just, pad level, great vision. I've referred to him as Emmitt Smith, wearing that number 22 a couple times. Not real tall in stature, but big legs, physical, great field vision, acceleration. He can find a hole, but he had like 8 carries on that drive. That was a big drive to put Tullahoma up 21 at the half, and they would need every one of those points.
Tullahoma would need every one of those points as Pearl Cone came out in the 3rd quarter here and got touchdown about midway through the 3rd quarter. They got really excited and amplified. There was a lot of hand raising and a lot of, like you say, kind of extracurriculars on the field. Both of these teams, I think, felt like they could intimidate the other. I'm not sure. I think Tullahoma intimidated Pearl Cone in the first half. I think Pearl Cone maybe didn't intimidate Tullahoma, but they got confident. They got their confidence and they got the momentum.
Yeah.
And right here with 10 minutes left to go in the game, Pearl Cone, after Justice Chadwick's field goal, Pearl Cone scores again here, and suddenly, it's a 10-point game, and what a huge crowd, a great crowd for this game. Tullahoma people really came out. They were as loud as we had ever heard them for this game. You see, nobody's at the concession stand.
Yeah.
Everybody's watching the game here.
And Barryon Brown kept everyone on their seats. I mean, this guy had limited touches in the first half, and we said halftime adjustments. They're going to give the ball. They're going to live or die with Brown in the second half. They mount a furious comeback. Keith clutch field goal to start the 4th quarter for Tullahoma to put them up 24-7 in this game. And we give them some short fields on this. We try an onside kick, give them a short field around the 50. They storm back. This game's 24-21 with about 6 minutes left, and we hold on. To me, the play of the year defensively and the turning point of this season, at the end of the game, the last couple minutes, Tullahoma's defense forces a key fumble in this game with Pearl Cone going in for a touchdown. They had it on about our 15-yard line. A penalty's called. The next play, a subsequent fumble. To me, Scott, Game 5, that's the linchpin, that's the turning point of the season because it gained us home field advantage over Pearl Conway. We didn't have to travel to Nashville and play them when playoff time came.
Absolutely, and Owen Stroop and Brandon Painter made that play on Tarleton, the Pearl Cone quarterback, forcing him to fumble. And you're right, that sewed up the Pearl Cone game. And some people said, oh, well, you know, if it hadn't been for the turnover, well, you know, turnovers, that's part of Tullahoma's offense.
And we heard it. Really, the only, you know, there was some murmuring going on. Had Tullahoma let the air out in the second half. They played too conservative offensively.
Well, that wasn't just murmuring. Coach Olive even admitted
Yeah,
that.
Coach Olive admitted it, but we showed we could win a fourth quarter football game. That's what that game proved us.
And so Tullahoma beats Pearl Cone 24-21.
Phase 1 complete.
Phase
5-0.
complete.
You win your homecoming game. You gain control of the region, and now it's time to step into Phase 2. Phase
2 begins with really one of the two worst teams that we saw this year in Hillwood. The Hilltoppers hadn't won a game. I can't remember whether I think they beat Glencliff at the end of the year to get their only win of the year. But Tullahoma just dominating this thing, Ken. We went to Hillwood. Hillwood only going to be a school for another year or two. They're building a new school. It's going to be called something different. It's going to be somewhere else. So we're probably not coming back to Hillwood again. But nice to close out the short rivalry with the Hilltoppers by just absolutely crushing them. Chris Usselton is fixing to return a punt, get some great block in there. And once
Great
Chris, look at him,
shedding tackles.
Yeah.
He was tough to bring down on contact, as were all these Tullahoma Wildcat receivers. It was hard to get any of them down on initial contact.
Chris was not scared of the end zone. You know, sometimes I think players are sort of scared to turn it loose and go for the end zone. You see guys that have a lot of talent, like, why don't they score more? Chris, man, from the time he stepped on the field, he had a nose for the end zone.
No
he was
fear.
Not scared of the end zone.
He played fearless. That was the thing about him. And he did have a nose for the end zone.
Tullahoma getting some backups in here. They'll hand it to Jackson Sheffield for this touchdown against Hillwood, dominating in the second quarter. Tullahoma will get the mercy clock going in the second half for the entire second half. And that's what a great team should do to a team like Hillwood, because I don't really understand how a team gets as bad as Hillwood until I go back and look at the statistics from Tullahoma's 2015 and 2016 seasons, and how many times we had the mercy clock start on us. And, man, it's a bad feeling when you're in the first half and you know the mercy clock's coming.
And it was a luxury for Coach Olive to be able to build depth. That was critical on keeping this team relatively injury-free. We had a couple buggy boos. Melton got hurt that last game against Pearl Cone, so we're playing these next 5 games in Phase 2 without Melton. But the team relatively intact, injury-free. This was the game I believe we had 6 or 7 different Wildcats score. We're up 40, fixing to be 48 to zip here.
Keyshawn was out, so we played Owen Stroop at running back. He scores. Evan Tomlin at running back, he scores. Mm-hmm. And
Tucker,
little
Tucker scored.
Somebody else fixing to score right here. I think it's Nathan DeLauder is going to keep it and take it. Just runs through tackles. Nathan DeLauder have an opportunity to compete for the quarterback job in 2022, and a low snap there, but you see that Wade Collins does a nice job with it, and I think that's Grant Chapman kicking that PAT. And once again, garbage time, 2 minutes to go. Tullahoma's got basically it's JV in there, and Hillwood. We kept wondering after the game, why did they not get the ball to this guy more often?
Yeah, bless their hearts. Take a little middle screen there, and he does magic with the ball. And we did say at 2 minutes they finally get him the football. But the best thing about this Hillwood team was their uniforms looked like the Marshall Thundering Herd, but the Wildcats thundered all over them this night. Big win. So
Tullahoma goes to 6-0 with a 55-6 win over Hillwood. And then it's back home to face Montgomery Central. And Montgomery Central scores first to put Tullahoma behind for the first time of the season.
Yeah, another top 10 team.
Another top 10 team. Tullahoma got to host Marshall County, Pearl Cone, and Montgomery Central, all top 10 ranked teams, and Tullahoma got them all at home. And once again, that's just a tremendous advantage to get all the top teams at home. Look at this blocking for Keyshawn Cummings straight up the gut. Watch the offensive line.
The offensive line
Cam
just
Robinson
mashing
pulls,
them in.
bam. Robinson takes out 2 guys, and once Keyshawn breaks through the line, he's gone.
And this game was on October the 8th. We had a couple skydivers come in and bring the game ball and the American flag to Lee Greenwood's God Bless the USA. So this was a fantastic night, I think, during fall break. We had a good crowd, though, in spite of fall break, and it was an exciting football game.
37-yard field goal by Justice Chadwick gives Tullahoma a slim 10-7 lead over Montgomery Central. But as happens so often, late in the first half, Tullahoma gets the ball, and when they get the ball late in the first half, they are going for blood every time. Look at the patience of Ryan Scott, letting that route develop, and Jacob Dixon says, so long, gets a flag for that. But such patience by Ryan Scott.
Yeah, another deep ball there to Jacob Dixon, the leading receiver on this Cats team. Just so many weapons, and it all starts with the pass protection up front. I mean, he had all night to throw that football.
And poor Montgomery Central, they ran a 7-7 game. Next thing they knew, it was 17-7. Here we are late in the third quarter. Justice Chadwick again, this time a 33-yard field goal. I think he has 3 for the game.
What a great field goal kicker was Justice Chadwick. He had some big ones this year.
I don't know if, look at that tip by Chris Usselton, interception, just another defensive touchdown for the Wildcats.
Pick 6.
You make a mistake against Tullahoma when you're on offense, and the Wildcats are going to make you pay for it. This ball's tipped by the receiver. And that's just too easy for Chris there.
Yeah, they generated turnovers. They were opportunistic in taking the ball away. And you're right, multiple non-offensive touchdowns. A great job by the defense this year. The most points they allowed in a game the entire season was 21 points to Pearl Cone. In Game 5, no other team would score over 20 points the entire season.
Tullahoma on their way. Here's the third field goal by Justice Chapman. I think this game really helped his case for Mr. Football kicker. He didn't have too many field goals. Tullahoma didn't kick too many field goals this year. All the touchbacks made it great, but his
there's another
3 field goal, another non-offensive touchdown.
Bone-jarring hit there by the cornerback, and look at his teammate be right there ready for football. Don't know who picked that one off.
I didn't think
but Dixon got the lick.
I didn't think it was a catch, okay? It's a call to catch and fumble, not an interception. Ball in the air, hits the ground. Brandon Painter picks it up and scores for the Wildcats. Tomatoes, we'll certainly take it. As Tullahoma closes out the score in there with the defensive touchdown. So here we are after a win over Montgomery Central, 37-7. And we're going to pause right there as we begin the Lawrence County game. 37-7, Tullahoma beats Montgomery Central. Ken, they're 7-0 at this point with Lawrence County, Greenbrier, and Glencliff coming up. Look, we knew at this point right here Tullahoma's going undefeated in the regular season for the second season in a row. After those tight wins over Pearl Cone and Marshall County, they weren't losing to Lawrence County, Greenbrier, or Glencliff.
The team, it was like a snowball. They got stronger and stronger each game. So now you have 3 victories over region opponents in the top 10 in the state. You're unbeaten right now, and you're playing complementary football. Offense is clicking. It's got balance. The maturity we see of Ryan Scott, the two-headed running back situation, Thunder Lightning with Sheffield and Cummings. That pancake posse, Melton's out. We're going to get him back in 3 games. Didn't matter. We had enough weapons on the perimeter, the defense creating turnovers and winning special teams battles. Chadwick in the kickoff game, in the field goals, in the special teams, we're winning special teams, and in the return game and stopping them in the return game too. Our special teams were phenomenal. Well coached. Right now, 7-0, looking good going into the last 3 games.
There are no weaknesses we can point out on this Tullahoma Wildcat football team. You're watching the 2021 State Championship recap on the Light Tube Sports Network.
Is lag hurting your gaming? Is a weak signal stalling your social media posts? Are constant updates slowing down your productivity? TUA Lighttube has a solution. Enroll in our mesh router service starting at $9.95 a month. With the ability to cover your home with increased signal strength, you can increase productivity and whole home happiness. Start winning today by calling TUA Lighttube customer service at 455-4515.
Tullahoma Utilities Authority Lighttube Fiber Internet offers true gigabit service to our customers. We pride ourselves on speed, but the backbone of that speed is local tech support, unmatched customer service, and professional service technicians. To sign up, call 455-4515 to gain the reassurance of Lighttube reliability.
Did you know that Tullahoma Utilities Authority has a solar farm right here in Tullahoma? For as little as $4 a month, you can support solar energy production and breathe a little easier, knowing you're taking positive action to reduce your carbon footprint. Call 455-4515 today.
Welcome back to our recap of the 2021 Tullahoma High School State Championship football season. Wildcats go 15-0, win the Class 4A State Championship, the best season in school history, unquestionably the best team in school history. There can be an argument made. Tullahoma's not facing the Jefferson counties and the Oak Ridges and the Knoxville Centrals in this playoff run. So the argument could be made that the 79 team or the 87 team was just as good and faced better competition. I've heard that argument. I'll accept that argument, but you cannot put aside 15-0 in state championships. It's the greatest Tullahoma Wildcat football team ever. Somebody needs to write a book about it because it was a storybook season. Tullahoma 7-0 heading to Lawrence.
Tullahoma taking a one-game approach. That was our philosophy. That was Coach All's philosophy. You know, we know the ultimate's 15-0, but Tullahoma truly took a one-game approach mentality. It's like your competition yourself now as these teams get weaker. The games 8, 9, and 10. Tullahoma 4 or 5 touchdown favorites in all these games, but you're playing yourself. You have your opponent is faceless. Go out, execute, win all 3 phases, dominate. Just don't win, dominate your opponent. That's what Tullahoma does here in these next 3 games to finish up the regular season. Well,
we had to catch up a little bit there. Now we're down in Lawrenceburg with week 8. Once again, this is a great shot of the offensive line work on a Keyshawn Cummings run straight up the gut. Watch the offensive line. Boom, J.T. Taylor with a great block there, and Keyshawn just stiff arms his man. Well, I mean, we just see this play over and over and over.
Yep.
We saw one in the state championship game. It didn't score, but it went for about 40 yards.
Yeah, the offensive linemen just blowing their defenders, 4 yards off the line of scrimmage. I mean, just massive holes in the middle of that defense.
Lawrence County, a team that we are likely going to be in the region with now for probably forever because our schools are basically the same size. They've improved their facilities down there quite a bit. We were pretty impressed. They got a whole new building, concession stand, restrooms, and all that. Nice addition down in Lawrence.
Nice addition, but I went back and watched this game, and you did make a comment relative to their short goalpost.
Yes.
That they have their uprights, or look like middle school goalpost
Dixon.
or Pop Warner. You look at that, yeah. Change of direction, just his grit, his tenacity, his fight, and his unwillingness to go down. Just he smelled pay dirt right there, and he found that end zone.
So once again, Tullahoma dominating an inferior opponent, as they should.
See those
So-
short uprights?
Yeah, look at those goalposts. Now, tell me where else, other than a Pop Warner field somewhere,
Yeah.
where you're going to find goalposts like that. Ryan Scott, just a better athlete than anybody in purple on the field, and it certainly shows in touchdown runs like that. Last year, I think Ryan would have run into a defender there, but this year he had much better field vision. When he got scrambling, he made it count.
Yeah,
Oklahoma's-
and he did. You know, two dual threat. You know, he counted for 29 touchdowns on the season, so he burned them on the ground, and he could burn you through there. Just so hard to defend. Defensive coordinator's nightmare facing this Tullahoma offense.
Jackson Sheffield scores there behind Pancake Poe, and Tullahoma will activate the mercy clock against Lawrence County with the successful conversion of this point after. There's the goalpost. Look at those little old things. Looks like something on one of those toy football games. So Tullahoma beats Lawrence County. Ken, what's the final? 35 to
Zip.
35 to nothing.
Shutout.
Now we're back home against Greenbrier. And boy, what a power run there. Tullahoma comes out in the black. And I just love this power run here by Keyshawn Cummings. Love this offensive line work. Watch him work. Poe pulls, bam, got his man. Keyshawn gets away from him, slides through a couple of tacklers, and then it's all Keyshawn for them last 5
Yeah,
yards.
I made reference to the old Washington Redskin offensive line, the Hogs of the Super Bowl days for the Washington Redskins. And that's kind of on a high school level comparison of how good, big, and strong. And these guys love physicality. They predicated their game on blowing guys off the line of scrimmage. You've seen that theme over and over. And defensively, this would be the second of 3 straight shutouts Tullahoma would throw against their opponents.
Jackson Sheffield behind his offensive line. Again, the last 5 yards are Jackson, just individual effort. Ken, the most impressive thing about this Tullahoma team was its strength. That's what you just see over and over and over. Not super fast guys and all that sort of. Watch this. Watch. They just, boom. You're not tackling me. I'm diving. Just strength. Tullahoma, a strong team, and they were just stronger than their opponent.
And they, you know, that was the thing. They built depth. They played lots of players. So that would, you know, get back in the weight room during the week, you know, hit the weights, continue to break weightlifting records. And, you know, I spoke with Larry Campbell, the strength and conditioning, you know, coach at Tullahoma, the coordinator, even before, you know, the deep run into the playoffs that would eventually win the state championship. He said, Ken, I had a conversation with him after church one Sunday. He said, I think we're the strongest team in the state in Class 4A, and I think they proved it, Scott.
I think they absolutely proved it, and that run by Keyshawn Cummings right there you just saw is further evidence of just brute strength overcoming anything else. Tullahoma leads Greenbrier 27-0 in the fourth quarter. Scott, patient, looking downfield. There's Dixon, got a defender right in front of him, but Jacob makes the catch, and Tullahoma on their way.
Great concentration. That's one thing about Jacob Dixon on those bubble screens. You know, he would make a defender miss. He would be in heavy traffic, guarded in close man-to-man coverage, but he concentrated and made sure that he caught the football. And very few drops by that young man, and really this entire wide receiver core for the Wildcats this season.
So Tullahoma beats Greenbrier 34-0, as Ken said. Tullahoma's at this point shut out its last 2 opponents 69-0, and about to slap a big 49-0
On the
beat
poor
down
Colts.
on Glencliff. The Colts, as we traveled to
mercy.
Nashville,
Yeah.
we thought there's an interception by Landon Fouch. I think he has 2
Pick
during
6.
this game.
No, he
but-
went down. No, he did score on that.
Yeah,
Landon
we've only
Fouch.
got scores here, so every
Yeah.
play somebody's scoring.
Yeah.
But Landon had a couple of interceptions in this game. Ken, what does a team like Glencliff? They're never competitive.
Yeah.
They're always 1-9 or 0-10.
Yeah. Only 3 coaches, you know, that we got there. They had one offensive coordinator up in the press box, and
The coach's mom.
yeah, one of the assistant coaches, his mother was the offensive coordinator up there calling plays. And if I remember correctly, this team only had 15 people appear in their practices during that week, and it showed, you know. This
True.
is a team Tullahoma could play lots of players. There's Owen Stroop going in. What a fantastic year that young man had from the linebacker position, for Tullahoma. Man, he created havoc on defense. And look, he gets rewarded, gets an offensive touchdown carrying the football, and looked impressive carrying the ball a few times
absolutely.
this year.
He's
Great
gonna
season
be
by that young
Sheffield.
man.
And Tullahoma's, as you can see, they're not. Look, the Wildcats could have scored 100 points.
Yeah.
Against Glencliff. They could have scored 100 points against Hillwood. All you got to do is leave that first team in for another quarter.
Yeah, Greenville had scored 88 points in a game, and we were talking at halftime, saying, hey, you think Tullahoma can score as many as Greenville did in a game? But Coach Allah's not like that. He shows class. Look, Tullahoma did not run the score up in any of these football games. They could have scored 70 points in multiple games. They played backups. They got them valuable depth experience. The coaches kept coaching. They kept calling their plays. But, hey, like Bobby Bowden said, I got my third, fourth, fifth stringers in there. You just got to stop it.
Look at this.
They
look at this
didn't run the
tip.
score up. You just got to keep playing.
Backup defensive back, Evan Tomlin. All these guys on the field right now, for the most part, are going to be back next year. Evan Tomlin, watch his tip ball, picks it off. What's he look for? He's looking for the end zone. He's not looking to just intercept the ball, and that's what I loved about Tullahoma's defenders all year. When they got a chance to get a turnover, like on those fumbles and whatnot, they're going to the end zone.
Yeah, they're smelling the end zone, and they all want to score. I mean, they were rabid on defense. I mean, they were just reckless abandon, as I said. Those guys were ferocious.
Last
on
touchdown
defense.
for the Wildcats against Glencliff, the last touchdown of the regular season. Wade Collins on the keeper, untouched into the end zone, and Tullahoma beats Glencliff 49-0. Grant Chadwick on the hold from Ethan Hargrove, and the kick is good. So the regular season's over. Tullahoma beats Glencliff 49-0. The Wildcats finished 10-0. They ranked second in the state behind Greenville. And honestly, there's no fear about the first playoff game. The second playoff game is the one a lot of people are pointing to, because we believe that Marshall County will come back to Tullahoma and that they'll be much tougher in the playoffs.
Yeah, that's right. And, Tullahoma live with that stigma that, hey, it's hard to beat a team twice. So 2 or 3 teams that they could possibly match up against twice being in round 2, as you said, Marshall County. One of them, but they come into this game knowing they're going to get Brody Melton, their playmaking tight end, defensive end back. Their only major injury of the regular season, going relatively healthy. 3 straight shutouts, clicking on all cylinders. We felt good about Phase 3 coming up, the playoffs, especially with the potential to host 4 playoff games.
Relatively healthy is an understatement. Other than missing Brody Melton for those 5 games, JT Taylor for that championship game. I'm sure there were some nicks and bruises where people set out the rest of the game, but for the most part, this Tullahoma team, especially the major contributors, for the most part, injury-free. That was so critical.
And that's just a testimony. You got to have luck. Okay, you got to have some luck. And football is a game of injuries. You got a 100% chance of getting injured if you play the game of football. But this training staff, the doctors, they worked really good with the players, and they were physically, mentally ready to play football this year, and they were champions on and off the field.
And the stronger team is the team that usually doesn't get hurt. Tullahoma 10-0, regular season undefeated, about to enter the playoffs. We'll start the playoff run on the other side. You're watching the 2021 State Championship recap on the Light Tube Sports Network.
Is lag hurting your gaming? Is a weak signal stalling your social media posts? Are constant updates slowing down your productivity? TUA LightTube has a solution. Enroll in our mesh router service starting at $9.95 a month. With the ability to cover your home with increased signal strength, you can increase productivity and whole home happiness. Start winning today by calling TUA LightTube customer service at 455-4515.
Tullahoma Utilities Authority Light-Tube Fiber Internet offers true gigabit service to our customers. We pride ourselves on speed, but the backbone of that speed is local tech support, unmatched customer service, and professional service technicians. To sign up, call 455-4515 to gain the reassurance of light tube reliability.
Did you know that Tullahoma Utilities Authority has a solar farm right here in Tullahoma? For as little as $4 a month, you can support solar energy production and breathe a little easier, knowing you're taking positive action to reduce your carbon footprint. Call 455-4515 today. Is lag hurting your gaming? Is a weak signal stalling your social media posts? Are constant updates slowing down your productivity? TUA LightTube has a solution. Enroll in our mesh router service starting at $9.95 a month. With the ability to cover your home with increased signal strength, you can increase productivity and whole home happiness. Start winning today by calling TUA LightTube customer service at 455-4515.
Tullahoma Utilities Authority Light Tube Fiber Internet offers true gigabit service to our customers. We pride ourselves on speed, but the backbone of that speed is local tech support, unmatched customer service, and professional service technicians. To sign up, call 455-4515 to gain the reassurance of light tube reliability.
Welcome back to the Tullahoma Wildcat 2021 State Championship recap. Along with Ken Keller, I'm Scott Shasteen. We appreciate you tuning in here on the Light Tube Sports Network. We're heading to the playoffs. Tullahoma 10-0. Ken, I'm not sure I was convinced that we were a state championship caliber team, but man, we knew we were really good.
And now we know we have home field advantage all the way until Finley Stadium as the Chester County Screaming Eagles come in.
What were the odds that last year Tullahoma would have home field advantage all the way through the playoffs, and then because of the region switch, Tullahoma swaps from the east side of the state to the west side of the state and gets home field all the way through the playoffs again? What are the odds?
Yeah. And, you know, Tullahoma earned it. They beat 3 top 10 teams. They go 10-0, second straight regular season unbeaten, the first time in history I believe that's ever happened. And as the Screaming Eagles come into town, 32 teams, but 32 teams are now going for the gold ball. Here's the playoffs begin.
Chester County is the opponent, and Tullahoma wastes no time. A couple of minutes into the game, Keyshawn Cummings.
Yeah, Cat set the tone early as they did in most games, scoring first. Powerful offensive line and setting the tone, breaking on top early, which was the key theme throughout the entire playoffs.
Ryan Scott lines up here at looks like the 39-yard line with Cummings as his tailback, and patience and protection. So much protection, and there's Chris Usselton in the end zone with a great catch.
Yeah, Birdie number 14 there, and Tullahoma now up 2 scores here. This was a number 1 seed, of course, Tullahoma against number 4 seed out of the other quad.
Out of Region 6 4A from West Tennessee. Here's Keyshawn just picking his way.
Running through would-be tacklers, leaving them on the ground.
It's early in the second quarter, and Tullahoma's up 21-0, and frankly, Ken, Chester County's beat. They're already beat.
Yeah,
I mean,
wow, yeah.
I don't know if they know it yet, but they have no chance. Boom, pick, beautiful pick by Stroop. Look at that anticipation for Owen Stroop. I mean, I don't know where this pass was supposed to go, but it went. But Owen Stroop was running when he caught it. Boom, he just jumped that route.
Yeah,
Supposed
sure
to go to
did.
number 2, but Stroop jumped that route. And you're right, one of the unsung heroes, Owen Stroop.
Yeah, and just great anticipation on that play right there. Another defensive touchdown for these Wildcats. And really, if you go back and look through the season, I'd like to do somebody look at this stat. If you take our special teams and defensive scores, our non-offensive touchdowns, and compare that with what offenses scored, did we outscore them with not even an offense? Did we outscore them with defensive special teams? Quite possibly.
Probably
Be close.
could have. You want offensive line blocking on a pass play? Watch this offensive line. Look at the time that Ryan Scott has to find Jacob Dixon.
Yeah, great pocket set up to throw out of, to allow him to survey the field, and pick out his best receiver option.
3 defenders back there, 2 Tullahoma receivers, and the Wildcats win that battle. And they lead 35-0. Kim, with 10 minutes left to go in the first half, here we are again.
Yeah, the route is on. And Cat's just pouring on the steam there because you can't take anything for granted in the playoffs.
Chester County gets this big play. Ethan Hargrove, I'm sure, was explained on how to push a guy out of bounds after this play. But to give Chester County credit, they didn't quit on it. They hung in there and scored, and so.
First point scored against this Tullahoma defense in 4 games.
Unfortunately, they had to kick off to the Wildcats, and the Wildcats have Jacob Dixon.
Yeah, see, and so this was Dixon's long, I think this was 86-yard kickoff return for touchdown. And, boy, you talk about squelching, taking momentum and snatching it away from the other team.
Just crushed them.
Yeah, they scored their first touchdown in the playoffs, then you do a kick 6.
So it's 42-6.
Again,
Tullahoma.
another touchdown, Scott, that Tullahoma scores in the final 2 minutes of a half.
That's right. That's right. Great ball fake by Nathan DeLauder. I remember on the call of this game, he completely faked me out. I thought he handed it to Jackson Sheffield, but DeLauder scores his 2nd touchdown of the year.
So this is game 1 of the playoffs, Tullahoma against Chester County. Tullahoma already has their substitutes in this game well before even this play here. And, getting ready for that next game.
Yeah, Chester County drives down, gets a touchdown, and then drives down, gets a really late garbage 2-point conversion there. So.
And Tullahoma virtually plays their entire roster here. So these young men getting rewarded for their practice by getting to play in the playoffs.
So after beating Chester County now, Montgomery Central.
Here come the Indians again, so this is a rematch.
Yes, wins the 2nd game. So Marshall County's not coming to Tullahoma. Montgomery Central is. And just watch Keyshawn talk about strength. This is strength.
Oh, it is. The little
Get
side
off me.
stutter
Get
step.
off me.
Wow,
Yeah.
incredible. So Tullahoma wins the regular season matchup 37-7. This was a physical team. They offered some challenges for us in their big running backs, and their front 7, pretty good size. Again, this was a top 10 team in Class 4A in the regular season, and the Wildcats will eventually dismantle them once again, winning this game 42-7 as it plays out.
Tullahoma trying to go to 12-0 and just get to that next game. Seems like the whole season, look at the protection. Seems like the whole season, Ken, we've just been waiting for this 3rd game of the playoffs,
Yeah.
Once the season started rolling and it became obvious how good Tullahoma was, it became obvious to us nobody's got a chance to beat the Wildcats again until Pearl Cone comes back.
Yeah.
They just don't.
And so, Tullahoma again, they go to a little slant pattern there to Melton. So we got him back. He missed several games. We have him back for the playoffs, and he's tough to bring down. He's tough to cover. Just size 6'3", 200-plus pound tight end. That's a mismatch in the secondaries of defenses.
The kick is blocked, recovered in the end zone for the touchdown. Evan Tomlin he's going to be such a playmaker next year. Excited about having
rising
Evan on the
junior. He
field.
had a great sophomore season. Lots of good plays here. Lots of highlight film for Mr. Tomlin.
So the Wildcats at the 39-yard line. Tullahoma had great field position all year. Wildcats were seldom backed against their own goal line. Ryan Scott with that pump fake again, and there is Joe Duncan with just a great over-the-shoulder. This catch is so hard to make when you're running full speed, looking back over your shoulder, boom.
Oh, that was incredible. Willie Mays type catch right there, playing center field for the Giants. I mean, he just, doesn't turn his head, catches the ball, both arms extended. And Duncan had some, you talk about winning field position. He had some critical kickoff returns that gave Tullahoma good field position. So he was vital in that return game on special teams as well.
Jackson Sheffield cleaning up against Montgomery Central here. Playoff game, 42-0, and we're not even to halftime yet. So that's the domination of the Wildcats here in the fourth quarter. Again, Montgomery Central, late garbage touchdown. You go through and figure up all the yardage and all the points that came after Tullahoma's first team defense came out. It's almost all of them except that Marshall County and Pearl Cone game. Now here we are back in the third round of the playoffs. This is everything.
This is the rematch.
Let's
talk about this one a little bit. So Tullahoma wins 24-21 in game one. A furious rally in the fourth quarter by Pearl Cone. Tullahoma gets a late turnover, a fumble recovery to hold off a desperation recovery really for Tullahoma, because I think most people thought heading out of that game, the way we played conservative in the second half, that we're going to get Pearl Cone's best. They have revenge on their mind, and the tangible factor is on Pearl Cone's side, and it's hard to beat a team twice. So here they come, the Firebirds, back in round three. This one's going to be a tough one, Scott.
Tarleton at quarterback, and their nice running back transfer from Riverdale gets the Firebirds on the scoreboard. I had forgotten that Pearl Cone scored first. I forget a lot of things about games. That Pearl Cone had scored first in this game, took a 7-0 lead against the Wildcats. And I think there was some disillusion. Tullahoma went in the locker room at halftime down 7-0. What did Coach Olive say down on the field after the game, though, Ken? He said, we went in the locker room and we felt like we could score 3 times.
Yes.
And we did score 3 times. There's the first one right there.
Now, if we remember, you go back and look, Tullahoma played conservative in the second half of the first game against Pearl Cone. They played ultra conservative in the first half of this game, if you remember.
And this
hardly threw a pass. I don't even know if we attempted a pass in the first half of this football game.
This is the closest thing to trick that Tullahoma got to this year. Pitch to Brody Melton from Dixon. And Melton just heaves it.
Incredible
Chris
play.
Usselton wide open. What a pass by Baby Gronk.
Yeah, dialed up the gadget play, tremendous play. And I think right after this, Tullahoma's going to score again with Melton over the middle. So Melton makes 2 big plays on consecutive drives in this game, throws the touchdown pass, also plays baseball, and then here he is over the middle, I think, catching the slant pattern and taking it to the house. Watch him break these tackles.
I don't know how
1, 2, there he goes. See ya, dragging men into the end zone.
Yeah, also plays basketball and baseball.
Tullahoma just wanted this game more.
So the Wildcats, I thought it fascinating that John Olive said, we felt like we could score 3 times in the second half, and they did.
It was amazing. Yeah, you interviewed him after the game, and that's what he told you. He said, hey, I felt we had 3 scores in the second half. And we said, good, because we were talking at halftime, scratching our heads, saying, hey, we got to open this offense up. And Tullahoma one big 21-7 going away, and they did what most people in the state said could not be done. They beat the Pearl Cone Firebirds twice in one season. So now we go to round 4.
Now the team that played Elizabethton last year for the state championship was the Haywood Tomcats, and so Haywood comes into Tullahoma for the 4th round of the playoffs. Biggest game in the history of Tullahoma High School right here. Home game, 4th round of the playoffs. Winner goes to state championship. Ken, I talked to the running back's father as they were coming into the stadium. He told me they had the best team that they'd ever had. Tullahoma had no idea what they were in store for. And Haywood in the early going, I'm not going to lie, I thought we've probably gotten as far as we're going to get.
Tullahoma's
16-7.
Yeah, facing another elite wide receiver. They had some, a top quarter, a good running back, another SEC receiver. They have one committed to Arkansas. So I think playing Barry on Brown helped us in this game. This team was a carbon copy of Pearl Cone. They were big. Pearl Cone had 13 guys, 280 plus. This team very similar in size. But this run and catch here, Ryan Scott to Chris Usselton. Look at this yards after the catch, this long touchdown pass. Find your playmaker and let him do the work. And Chris Usselton breaks this win. This was a big play. Tullahoma down 16-7, their biggest deficit of the season, second quarter of this game.
Watch the wide receivers block after the pass. Throws to Usselton, boom, there's one block. Dixon clears out his man, boom, there's Duncan, clears out his man. I mean,
Yes.
the wide receivers, great blocking all year long for plays like this to happen.
Crimson C just opened up, but just unselfish. As you're right, blocking for your teammate downfield. Good blocks, no holding. Tullahoma climbs back in this game after a 9-point deficit early. The Tomcats thought they put the TKO on Tullahoma up 9 points. Tullahoma would end up scoring 37 of the last 40 points of this contest.
Scott with a pump fake, and there it is. Jacob Dixon, just a big play, big chunk plays. I mean, between those runs up the middle by Keyshawn and the passes from Scott to various receivers, chunk plays.
Yeah.
I'm going to go back and count how many 20-yard plus plays Tullahoma had on the season. I bet they had 50 chunk plays.
Now this game is 20-19, I believe, at the half. So I think it says first quarter. We're in second quarter action there as this game goes on. Tullahoma had a 1-point lead at the half of this contest.
And again, Jacob Dixon shows not so much speed, but elusiveness and strength to get in the end zone and give Tullahoma a lead early in the third quarter that they would not relinquish, but would just pile on. I mean, Haywood, once they got punched in the mouth in the second half, Ken, they were done.
They had the long bus trip here. About 4 hours, 4.5 hours getting here. Tullahoma, we alluded to it earlier, they won the final 2 minutes of the first half in games. They also won the first 2 minutes of the second half. They come out, they get the ball first. 1-point lead. What are they going to do? They're going to go 3 and out? No, they're going to go right down the field and score a touchdown. And then that defense takes over the contest. Second straight playoff game. Tullahoma does not allow points.
Big hit there
half.
by Ethan Anderson.
Yes.
Big hit by Ethan Anderson on Tarleton.
Crunching blow.
On Haywood's quarterback.
Crushed him.
Forces the fumble. Haywood can't pick it up. And there's Mr. Brandon Painter once again on the spot, picks up the fumble, scores the touchdown, and really that's when the route was on.
Yeah, all of a
that was
sudden,
2 touchdowns in the first couple of minutes of the third quarter.
Yeah, and you're right. This game decided in the first 3 minutes of the second half. Tullahoma puts 2 touchdowns in now, big 34-19 lead. You're feeling pretty good right now, but they continue to dominate.
30-yard field goal by Grant Chadwick on the hold from Wade Collins and the snap from Reagan Tomlin. Tullahoma's lead is 37-19.
And that was big because it made it a 3-score game at that point.
Ryan Scott dances in for the Tullahoma touchdown. At this point, Ken, I got to say, at this point, it was the funnest, most exciting few minutes of broadcasting I've ever had because we knew we were going to state championship.
Yeah.
Now, in the back of my mind, I didn't know whether we were going to get to call it or not, but we knew we were going to the state championship game in the final minutes of that Haywood game. So exciting to get there.
Yeah, and so Tullahoma now, 4-0 at home. That was the mission. We're in phase 3. We do what we take care of business at home. The crowd was fantastic all 4 games. The cowbells were going. We riled them up on our Monday night talk show. Hey, bring the cowbells, come to the state champ. We kidded a little bit about that, but I think some of them did sneak some cowbells in. But let's look at our opponent here. We thought it was going to be Greenville. We were watching the other side of that bracket, Greenville and Elizabethton, a couple weeks before. Was it the week before in
round
4 or 3? Round 3. Greenville is upset by Elizabethton 13-7. And so the dominoes are falling. The dominoes are falling.
Yeah, I mean, you could call that an upset. Elizabethton's a 2-time defending state champion.
True. But Greenville came in the #1 team in the state.
Greenville
that
beat
time.
Elizabethton soundly in the
Yeah.
regular season. So that's why we were, and Coach Olive even admitted it. They were already looking at Greenville. So here we are, Chattanooga, Tennessee, December 4th, 2021, a day that will live in infamy in the city of Tullahoma. And we're on the roof at Finley Stadium. Again, it's December 4th, Ken. It's about 65 degrees. It feels awesome.
Oh, it was fantastic, and you know, Coach Olive had said something to the effect after the Haywood County game, perfect conditions. You know, 10 o'clock. Let's go play a game down in Chattanooga, 11 Eastern. And you know, when we looked at this game, we really touted it as David against Goliath. David, the challenger, the Tullahoma Wildcats versus two-time repeat defending champion, the Elizabethton Fighting Cyclones. They come in avenging their only loss of the season to Greenville. And, you know, you look at this game on paper, they're definitely Goliath. And Tullahoma's going to have to still come in perceived as the underdog, but they felt they were the stronger team. It matched up well. Mirror images, both coaches said as in their press conferences, when they put each other on film, they looked like the same team with different uniforms on.
Well, they didn't look like the same team on the field because Elizabethton ran their quarterback 36 times, and Tullahoma just continued to do what it does. Now, there's not a lot of video of this state championship game on this particular program because we're just showing the scoring plays. However, Light Tube Sports Network has replayed the state championship game multiple times, and I'm sure we'll continue to pull that out every once in a while and just pop it in because folks are never going to get tired of watching this 15-0 team.
Yeah.
So let's take a look. Ryan Scott scores the first touchdown for Tullahoma, gives the Wildcats the lead early in the second quarter. Ken, it was just back and forth all day between the 20s.
Well, it was. It was a defensive battle. Tullahoma only had 4 first downs in the first half of this game compared to 13 for Elizabethton. And but they played turnover-free football, defensive battle, as you said. 2 great quarterbacks leading both of these teams. There's Bryson Rollins, their dual-threat quarterback, throwing to his #1 target, Jake Roberts, for their first touchdown. So this game is 7-7 going into the halftime. And, you know, we talked about these guys are winners. Bryson Rollins, 42-1 as a starter. And at this point, our quarterback, Ryan Scott, 26-1 as a starter.
Okay, so we're in overtime now. So again, the game happened quick. The overtime's where the action is. This is the first possession for Elizabethton, and they run Bryson Rollins 3 times, score on the 3rd run. That's what they've been doing the whole game. Critical extra point. Elizabethton had a very good kicker, so he was very solid. So Elizabethton leads now. Tullahoma shot in overtime. They just give it to big Keyshawn Cummings, and he just busts through for the touchdown on the first play.
All right, timeout.
We were so excited right there because it's like once Elizabethton took the lead, then it became real. It was we've only got 4 plays here, and if we don't score, they're going to win.
Yeah, and let's talk about a little bit about the second half of this game. It's 7-7 at the half. Both teams turned the ball over in the red zone, but Tullahoma has a golden opportunity. Perhaps could have won this game in regulation. Tullahoma has a Chris Usselton punt return inside 3 minutes down to the 25-yard line of Elizabethton. Tullahoma has a 4th and goal, Scott. That was the biggest play in regulation. 4th and about a half foot. They call a timeout. We see Justice Chadwick. You alluded to it in the broadcast live. He's warming up on the sidelines. Tullahoma's going to kick. Tullahoma has created a ploy here. They're going to go for it on 4th down. They line up in the shotgun. Ryan Scott in quarterback in shotgun formation. Runs up, rushes to the line of scrimmage. We had a beautiful vantage point of it. He stopped 3 inches short of the goal line. Inside about 2 minutes to go. Tullahoma stops them. Tullahoma stopped by the Cyclone defense. A great defensive stand, Scott. Boy, Coach Olive said after the game to you that he thought he may have blown a state championship on that play, right?
Yeah, I hit a wrong button. So that's right. He may have blown the state championship on that field goal try. So Keyshawn scores, or Bryson Rollins scores for Elizabethton. They go up 14-7 in the first overtime. Overtime takes place on one end of the field. Each team has 4 downs from the 10-yard line. And just pure effort here. Good offensive line push, but Keyshawn decides to bounce it outside there. He was not going to be denied that touchdown. 21 Peterson there. He had a really good game. Kicked through there by
Snap, hold, and kick. You know, to
Justice
me,
Chadwick.
I made the comment on the game right there. To me, there's no more pressurized play in football than being in overtime. You're down 14-13 right there, and 3 things got to happen for that play to happen. You got the snap, the hold, the placement, and then that kick was boomed through. You miss that, the game's over.
So Tullahoma has the ball first now in the second overtime, and rather than stick with the run game, Tullahoma elects to throw. This is on 3rd down. Where Ryan Scott, look at the patience, look at the time that he has to fight for Dixon for that route to develop. Watch Dixon, he comes all the way from the slot on the right side, across the field, says, hey, I'm open. Ryan Scott right there to him. Perfect.
Money.
Perfect. So Tullahoma got to get the point after here, and the Wildcats lead 21-14, and now we're headed toward the end here. It's going to be on 3rd.
And now we said on this drive right here,
down.
they scored
3rd down.
Yeah, 3rd down. So they scored in 3 runs the first overtime. We said this is going to be Bryson Rollins. It was him the whole game. He's
Sure.
going to carry the ball. They're not going to put the ball in there. And on 2nd down, they put it up in the air.
So here's Elizabethton with their possession down 21-14, and here's the pick. The greatest play, the single greatest play in the history of Tullahoma Wildcat football. Chris Usselton with the interception. Goes high. He's against Jake Rollins. Now, this is an all-state receiver. This is not some guy out there just running around. All-state receiver. And just look at the length of Usselton, the perfect timing. He's not scared of the play.
High pointed that
He's
football.
not the least bit scared of the play.
I saw you call the Tullahoma basketball games. I saw a video clip on Facebook of him having his hand up around the square of the backboard. I said, my goodness, can that guy jump that high? Yes, folks, he can. And
So we're going to just watch.
play.
We're going to just watch this for a second. My wife cried last night watching this. She said, "Still just gets me. Still just gets me." Watch the celebration. Watch Coach Olive. Look at him. Bert Oak. Remember, he told me on the field after the game. He said Bert Oakley came. I was okay till Bert Oakley came over and said something, and he said I just broke down. This is just great stuff. This film will live forever. Look at that crowd just going crazy. There's Bert and Olive. Of course, Bert spent many years on Olive's staff. There's Maury Shaw and the rest of the coaches coming in to gather around, and Chris Usselton getting the pile-on treatment. And look who's down there in the bottom of that pile. Jason Quick is down there under the bottom of that pile. But just great stuff there. I'll never forget those memories and the video of this state championship game, Ken.
A cosmic celebration.
It just can't be topped. We can win 10 state championships. We're never going to top this one because it was the first one in football. It was 100 years in the waiting.
David slayed Goliath right there at Finley Stadium. You know, the Wildcats did it. You know, took the two-time defending state champion down. The way this played out, the way overtime, hey, we didn't want to win it in regulation, man. It was destiny for this to happen the way it did.
You can wrap 100 years of Tullahoma Wildcat football, 29 years of John Olive's coaching career, 15-0 regular season, and a state championship gold ball. You can wrap them all in cardinal and black. The Tullahoma Wildcats win the 2021 state football 4A championship, 21-14 over Elizabethton. The end of Coach Olive's coaching career. We certainly look forward to next season and starting the era of Coy Sisk and Tullahoma football. But Ken, I want to thank you for joining me for the season and for this recap. Partner, I didn't know it was going to turn into this. When I brought you on, we couldn't win a game.
Well, I mean, I appreciate you, man, and Wildcats, the fan support. so many comments we had, you know, TUA, what all they did for us this year. It was just a joy to call this, man. Some great football that we saw all season. Congratulations to the Tullahoma Wildcats, their fans, and Wildcat Nation. And thank you, Scott, for allowing me to call with you. This was the 5th year I was with you, man, but this was the best one.
I weren't going to do it without you. So that's a wrap. If you missed part of this program, LightTube Sports Network, Channel 23 will show this multiple times, so you'll be able to catch it again. Tell your friends about it. Tell the players and their families about it so they can watch this. So we appreciate you tuning in to the 2021 State Championship recap. That's going to do it for us here on the LightTube Sports Network. For Ken Keller, I'm Scott Chastain. Be good to each other.